Okay, thank you. It's exciting to be back at BUIDL Asia, and thanks everyone for coming early. I know it's hard to pull off, given how fun Seoul is. So I want to talk about confidentiality, but for those who are not familiar with me, I am previously an AI researcher that worked on Google. At Google, we worked on natural language understanding, and I'm one of the co-authors of Attention is All You Need, which is the T in GPT. Now, I started Near originally as an AI startup because I really believed that AI is going to be how we're going to interface with computing. I thought that the old school writing code and running kind of third-party code on your computer is going to go away, and we're going to all just talk to computers, and computers will understand us and build their own code themselves. Now, in 2017, that sounded like science fiction, and it was. But we made some progress. We realized we didn't have enough training data, we didn't have compute, and so we started actually doing data labeling, crowdsourcing, to figure out how to get more data. And that's actually how we got to Near Protocol, because we needed payments to coordinate people to collect training data for our AI models. And so we pivoted to build a blockchain. Since 2018, we built it, we launched it in 2020. It's one of the most used blockchains across a number of metrics. And as the AI actually scaled, and as this future kind of happened, in past few years, we started coming back to really bring what we've built on blockchain side to AI as well. And what happened over 4 years is really this transformation from AI being the back-end technology, which you don't really see. You use it through Amazon.com and your recommendations, or Google.com with search results, to first being chat, right, where AI now just responds to you directly. And now in the past few months, really, to agents which are taking action on your behalf. Now the next step is really not just your agent, but lots of agents working on tasks you're defining them in collaboration. So we call it kind of the multi-agent coordination. Now what this means is this all of the kind of existing digital interactions that we have are compressing, right? This vision that we outlined in 2017, where AI is going to be the interface to computing, is happening now, right? You can just talk to your agent, and it can go and execute actions. It can go and navigate browser tabs. It can go and call APIs on your behalf, and you don't even know this is happening, right? This is kind of becomes opaque to you. The actions we usually take manually, right? Checking messages, like finding invoices and paying them, doing transactions manually, filling out forms, switching between tabs to copy information. All of that is now able to be done by these agents. Now, these agents need a new native infrastructure. They can handle the infrastructure we have right now. They can go and click on the browser. They can try to circumvent some of the anti-bot detection that are happening right now. But they will perform better if they have a native infrastructure. We can have APIs that are kind of intent-based of what agent is trying to do, and have payments embedded in them, similar to X402. We can have a neutral rails that are not really distinguishing between if you're a human or a bot, right? And are enabling everyone to participate evenly. And importantly, right now, in crypto, we have everything transparent. Everything on chain is effectively visible to everyone else. And this is not realistic if you want to use this in day-to-day life, right? I just paid for coffee. If somebody was scanning my wallet, they would detect I am literally in Seoul in this hotel. Now I'm on this conference, so it's not that hard to detect. But in day-to-day life, that is actually a pretty dangerous situation if this is attached to your main wallet. And imagine now your agents are transacting right on your behalf with really small amounts of money, and all of that is visible. So we really need confidentiality for this. We need confidentiality for your data, because these agents will know everything about you. It will literally have all of the information about your life, your medical history, your financial history, your day-to-day interactions, your questions, your effectively combine your therapist, your doctor, and your mom in one go, right? And this all information right now goes to AI providers that you're using. Now, if you're not familiar, there's kind of this transformation that happened, and we call it claws for the OpenClaw. And this is really this operating system that kind of become your personal agent that has all your context information and now can execute everything on your behalf. Now, there's another side of this, which is autonomous agents, and we'll have something tomorrow to showcase this. But this is where, if you have infrastructure that is indeed autonomous, and with blockchain tech, we've been building this for over a decade now, you can actually have the AI running in that format as well, and really have kind of a sovereign agent, a sovereign autonomous being that is, has its own money, can go and interact, has its own memory, can actually pay and deal with other things. Now, we've seen this kind of transformation that happened with agents, right? So Cloud Code and Codex came out early 2025. They were really kind of new way of interacting with code, where instead of having a copilot, you just tell the machine what you want, and it writes the code for you, right? This exact kind of our 2017 vision. And kind of there was a step function that happened with OpenClaw, where now it can just do anything, right? It can call an API on your behalf, and this is just a consumer experience. And so there's now an explosion of this clause right now because people are taking very different opinions on how it should be built. And so we've built IronClaw because we believe that you should have a peace of mind when you're using the system. We think this is an operating system that needs to be built as operating system with security at heart. And so think of this as effectively iOS for agents, right? It's secure by default, it's designed from scratch, and it's built to really be user-friendly and consumer-friendly. So ironclaw.com is kind of where you can start a journey with it. For developers, there's a GitHub. It's very active. There's over 200 contributors that are really building it right now. And it's been very exciting to see kind of how AI itself can build itself, right? And like we're more and more using effectively IronClaw to build IronClaw kind of day to day. Now, architecture-wise, there's a lot of components. I'm not going to go too deep into it. If you're interested, we have an IronClaw meetup actually in the evening today where I'm going to go into more details. But sufficient to say, we're actually using a lot of the learnings we had from blockchain, specifically our WebAssembly isolation, encryption methods, to bring this all to how we're designing IronClaw itself. So, very high level, there's a core engine. Think of it as a kernel of operating system. There's a number of channels, right? This is your user interfaces. You can be texting from Telegram or WhatsApp. You can be interacting in Slack. There's Web UI, Text UI. All of that goes through engine. And then there's a whole system of permissioning and authentication that ensures that LLMs never see your credentials. There's no way for executing an action that gonna expose your information. And all of that gets sandboxed into different ways on the kernel level. Now, it also has self-learning, right? As you can imagine, as you're using the systems, there's a lot of data being produced. And so the IronClaw itself has effectively missions, which are a system to reflect on itself and see if there's a way to improve itself. Is there a way to improve so-called skills? Is there a way to improve its own core loop? And so IronClaw actually becomes smarter and smarter and better over time as you use it. There's a number of skills as well come bundled up because as we've been building, we actually designing the skills as well. And so one of the kind of ones to highlight is I have a CEO setup skill, which effectively sets up a system that I use to run a lot of the Near Foundation and Near AI companies right now. It runs effectively on the background, scans all the Google meetings, all the Notion meetings, all the Notion articles, Slack, and other messages, and creates weekly reports, creates who owes what, delegation, commitments, decisions that are made, and really creates a knowledge base about the company while allowing me to say, hey, what's on deck? prepare for meetings, et cetera, et cetera. So extremely powerful system, really built on top of all of the other pieces we're building with Ironclaw. And as we're in crypto, this is kind of a preview. There's a portfolio skill. You can literally just drop your address, your wallet, and it will go and analyze all the assets you have, all the positions you have in DeFi, and actually start suggesting you how to improve your yield and positions. So, in this case, I have my root.near account, and it suggested to, stake my near that I have just sitting around, put some USDC into lending, as well as, for some of the meme coins, a higher risk, higher reward, high APY pools. So, and then from there, with the near intent, you can effectively deploy all of this across different chains. So this is something that, again, Ironclaw is really combining all these pieces because we ensure security. We can really enable all of these pieces in one place. Now, as I mentioned, right now, all of your data is actually going to AI providers. And we think this is not how the future should be. And so we have also confidential inference, right? So I mentioned privacy is going to be effectively enabler for us to use more and more of this technology. And confidential inference is based on NVIDIA confidential computing and Intel kind of trusted execution environments. We use our near multi-party computation to do key management and really enable you effectively have an end-to-end encrypted conversations where there's no one, not near AI, not hardware providers, able to actually inspect what is your AI doing. So really protects you against a number of attack vectors and ensures all your data stays private. Similarly, if you want to run your agents, not locally, but in the cloud, you can do that with our confidential hosting as well at agent.near.ai. And we support both OpenClaw and Ironclaw on it. Now, switching gears, we had been building near intents for the past year and a half. And really, it became a hub where you can move value across any chain. It uses any bridge underneath, right? I mean, layer 0 was presenting before. We have some near tech. But the idea is that you as a user actually don't want to know about blockchains. You really want to operate on the asset level. And so we're aggregating all of the assets and all of the chains into one playing field. Now, this works great for agents as well because agents can now facilitate and transact across all of these assets without needing to know the specific details of every individual. But users want that too. And so we built near.com to be a consumer UI where you can have all of these assets in one place, right? So I have my near, Bitcoin, Zcash, and USDC all in one account with my passkey, sign in, and I can deposit and withdraw to any chain supported from here. Now, this is a market coordination primitive, right? This allows to effectively not just move assets, but also exchange assets and really call contracts on other chains with assets you want to deploy. So this is where, if your portfolio skill in Ironclaw suggests to put, some USDC on Aave on Base and you have it on Solana, Intents will just facilitate that and put it into the Aave contract and really handle all the complexity of moving things around. At the same time, it is a fully peer-to-peer protocol, right? It effectively matches you with another solver, which is enabling to facilitate this transaction. So you're finding the best price without kind of having the maximum extraction value being in the middle. So very simple framework. There is effectively matching engine and that finds you the right solver for you. There's funds go in escrow, and if something goes wrong, there's a dispute process. So you send intent request, it gets all the right kind of facilitators, and then executes. And so kind of the execution flow, putting funds into escrow, and getting this done. Now you can notice that this is actually very generic. This is not just for funds. This is for any work, and we'll circle back on that. Now, as I mentioned, confidentiality is the key. And so we launched confidential mode for near.com itself. So this is the first time you can actually take your Bitcoin, take your USDC, take your Ethereum, take your Solana, take your Tron, Ton, etc., and actually have confidentiality for these assets. All in one place, all self-custodial. So near.com, you can deposit it, move it into confidential balance, and now nobody knows how much funds you have and what you're trading in that place, right? There's confidential trading and more kind of options are coming to this. So I think this is going to be how we actually get mass adoption for crypto. It's not going to come from every single transaction being transparent, because nobody wants to use, this in day-to-day life, in day-to-day interactions. This is how we're actually able to go and pay each other in USDC or stablecoins or any other asset without needing to go and try to create lots of addresses. Like I have hundreds of addresses because I'm trying to avoid linking when I send somebody money that they know who else I send money all the time. So this is like the first time to unlock that. Now, all of those things actually coming together, right? I mentioned Ironclaw as a interface, as the way your agent interact. We have near.com and intents, which allow you to execute actions across all chains and deal with all the assets. And the intent workflow itself was very generic, right? It allowed you to say, hey, I want this done, and find the best partner to do it. And we started with crypto. We started with like, hey, I want to exchange these assets. But you can also do this with work, with goods, with services. You can say, hey, I want to rent some B200s to train my AI model. Or you can say, hey, I actually want to buy a house in Lisbon. Or you can say, hey, I need somebody to run a marketing campaign for my new website, and I need at least this much views, impressions to be generated on this website. And so we launched a market, and it's specifically a marketplace for agents. You can think of it in simplified terms as like Upwork for agents, where any agent can come in and effectively say, hey, this is the type of work I need to do, and other agents will come in and start bidding on it and offering how much they will do it and details on how they're going to execute. And so because your Ironclaw or any other claw is your interface, right? Now, when you're telling some job that you want to be done, if it's not confident it's able to do it, maybe it doesn't have data, maybe it doesn't have experience, it can offload it to this marketplace and find the experienced agent that is learning from every interaction and is able to do it on repeat, right? It can be doing some social media, it can be development, it can be goods, it can be services, right? And so I actually ran an example where I ran it through this marketplace and through a Fiverr, right? So a human marketplace. And so I was looking for expert to usage report. And so I paid here, I think like three-ish near to get the report from one of the agents. I think, yeah, there was like a bunch of bids. I picked one of the agents who had like a pretty good description, microwave. It's like, hey, I will write a story report. And I did the same with Fiverr. And with Fiverr, it took 2 days. It costed $15, which was more expensive. And the report wasn't great. It didn't have any of the statistics data. And the worker actually asked for $150 more for the full report. This took about less than an hour. And it was a pretty good. It actually covered all the questions I had because I had them in the description. Now, another example is you can actually run competitions, right? We actually ran a hackathon for agents on this platform as well, right? Where you say, hey, build this thing, and we'll get a reward based on who's the best on this criteria. Or there's a new data set that got released around fraud in medical system in US, and so there was a competition somebody ran to find this fraud in this data set. And so really interesting results, right? You can have agents effectively competing and submitting different solutions, and you can evaluate them automatically on what is the best approach. Now, sometimes you don't even know what agents are able to do, and so there's a service directory where agents can self-report what type of work they can do, how much it's going to cost, and effectively showcase their expertise, right? And so you can have all kinds of things from the DeFi and cross-chain interactions that we have in our traditional intents to medical insurance claims. For example, we have a number of agents doing that because that's something that is highly manual, requires a huge policy check, and usually very error-prone. And agents can do this kind of with high reliability and learning from every experience. Now, the important piece of this whole system is disputes. right? What if agent done the work, but it wasn't done correctly? How do you actually deal with that? Well, there's a dispute agent, an automatic court system that effectively comes in and evaluates the whole interaction. So on a meta level, what we're trying to do is actually, we're replacing the whole commercial relationships between companies by effectively allowing AI to go directly and do transactions directly. And if something goes wrong, to have another AI to be the inspector, to be the evaluator. And so this is an example where AI actually evaluated the situation and said, hey, the result that was expected wasn't there, and it requests more evidence, right? So same as, court can request more evidence, or in this case, it said like, hey, job was not complete at all, and the kind of originator of the job wins. So I'm just gonna finish on this. Confidentiality is a key to us trusting the systems, us being able to use them for day-to-day for our core kind of business or personal information, right? Right now, crypto has been an investment asset that we effectively just throw in and hope it goes up, versus being our day-to-day driver, because we know that this is our money, we know that nobody's looking, we know we can use them in day-to-day. With AI, the same thing, right? Most of Fortune 500 are still not using AI because they're afraid of all of their data, all of their IP being leaked out to these AI companies. And so confidentiality is as a key, right, of enabling mass adoption and mass penetration of these technologies across the world. So go confidential, check out ironclaw.com, near.com, and market.near.ai to try it out. Get your agents set up and start using confidential mode for all your assets. Thank you.